Today I would like to go into another one of these Buddhism 101 videos and pick up where we left off last time. We previously went over the Four Noble Truths, the fourth of which being a path to the cessation of dukkha, or suffering. This brings us directly to the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the essential part of Buddhism in a more practical sense. It consists of 8 parts that are interconnected and rely on each other's existence to practice. When they're all developed, or practiced together simultaneously, suffering can be abolished. So the 8 factors are as follows: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Now, these 8 parts aren't necessarily supposed to be thought of as stages or levels to be passed through, but rather as dimensions of one's posture towards life. When they're all tapped into simultaneously, they define the Noble Eightfold Path as it was likely intended to be understood. It's a way of living, really. I'd like to read a quote from Bhikkhu Bodhi, which attempts to explain this interrelated nature of the Noble Eightfold Path. The essence of the Buddhist teaching can be summed up in 2 principles: the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The first covers the side of doctrine, and the primary response it elicits is understanding. The second covers the side of discipline, in the broadest sense of that word, and the primary response it calls for is practice. In the structure of the teaching, these 2 principles lock together into an indivisible unity called the Dhamma Vinaya, the doctrine and discipline, or in brief, the Dharma. The internal unity of the Dharma is guaranteed by the fact that the last of the Four Noble Truths, the truth of the way, is the Noble Eightfold Path, while the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Thus the 2 principles penetrate and include one another: the formula of the Four Noble Truths containing the Eightfold Path, and the Noble Eightfold Path containing the Four Truths. Given this integral unity, it would be pointless to pose the question which of the 2 aspects of the Dharma has greater value, the doctrine or the path. But if we did risk the pointless by asking that question, the answer would have to be the path. The path claims primacy because it is precisely this that brings the teaching to life. The path translates the Dharma from a collection of abstract formulas into a continually unfolding disclosure of truth. It gives an outlet for the problem of suffering with which the teaching starts, and it makes the teaching's goal, liberation from suffering, accessible to us in our own experience, where alone it takes on authentic meaning. To follow the Noble Eightfold Path is a matter of practice rather than intellectual knowledge, but to apply the path correctly, it has to be properly understood. In fact, right understanding of the path is itself a part of the practice. It is a facet of right view, the first path factor, the forerunner and guide for the rest of the path. Thus, though initial enthusiasm might suggest that the task of intellectual comprehension may be shelved as a bothersome distraction, mature consideration reveals it to be quite essential to ultimate success in the practice. Now, in brief, I would like to go through each of the 8 aspects and give them just a little bit of definition. Right view can be thought of as understanding in an accurate way the true nature of reality and things in the universe. Right intention involves avoiding thoughts that are harmful or toxic, and instead cultivating thoughts that are more beneficial. Right speech has to do with refraining from lying, idle gossip, and even refraining from speaking too much just to fill time. Right action has to do with conducting oneself in a way that avoids harmful physical actions like killing and stealing, as well as sexual misconduct. Right livelihood is all about engaging in ourselves with the vocation that does no harm to others, and in a best case scenario, creates happiness and well-being for others that we come into contact with while working. Right effort tells us that we need to prevent unwholesome states from arising and to allow wholesome states to take their place. This can mean the aversion of anger, hatred, and resentment, while also including things like doubt, unwholesome sexual appetite, restlessness, and ill will of all sorts. Right mindfulness is the ability to see things for what they are rather than what we want them to be. It involves being aware of the present moment without any unnecessary cravings. And finally, right concentration has to do with being able to remain on a certain state of concentration while remaining detached or indifferent to any awareness of objects. Concentration would usually mean being able to fully concentrate on a specific task or on a singular object. But in this case, we are referring to a more general state of awareness in which there is no specific subject or object, and really a state of awareness that is based on emptiness and nothingness. So that's all I have about this particular subject for now. Each one of these 8 aspects could have its own lengthy explanation that goes on for several minutes with examples and further details, but I think we'll leave it at that for now and move on to something else in the next installment.